What's up, everybody? This is Magic Collins, aka Magic Man. You are with Fight the Funk podcast, exploring mental health, culture, and the world around us. Now, I kind of got thrown off today, man. Like with the Asian hate crimes. So with this podcast, if you take a look at the lower end, I'm gonna be adding in some sites where people can reach out or find help. Um, and we all figuring this out. So I'm gonna just do my part to try to share resources. So you'll be seeing seeing write-ups like this, like the Asian Mental Health Collective. Check that out. Anti-Asian violence. So I'm gonna be sharing that throughout the live cast. So just keep an eye out, jot it down. And I got some guests to talk to you about, and we're gonna be chatting it up today. And one of the things with these guests, they're artists, they're artivists. You got a DJ, a poet. Like we coming with it today, so I'm excited. So check us out. And right now, I'm gonna bring up DJ S.O.U.L.
What's going on, brother Magic? Can
So
you hear
man,
me?
how you doing?
I am well. How about yourself?
Good, man. Good. Feeling good, man. So DJ Soul, you're a musician, you got a band, tell a little bit about yourself, man.
I've been DJing, producing I've been DJing since '91, producing since the early 2000s, and stumbled from the Bay to a little city called Long Beach, and I fell into a studio there, and I've been working out of that studio since I say around 2001 till right now. Long Beach Most Wanted Studio, recording artists, doing production, and just getting local talent and artistry out there. Anybody that has a voice and needs to get something off their chest, because a lot of times that's what we're doing. They got a spot right there in the city of Long Beach. So
That's
yeah,
dope.
that's what I've been doing.
Okay. How long are you originally from the Bay?
Yeah, I'm originally from San Jose, and
Okay.
pretty much all spots in between. I got a lot of family out there, and made my way to Southern Cal. Made various spots between LA
Mm,
and all the way down to OC and
mm,
back, um, in my youth.
mm,
But I think I've made my longest stretch of residency in Long Beach, and
mm,
the city and the people themselves, they've been really welcoming to me.
mm,
So I stuck around because you can get ran out of the city quite
mm,
easily. You
mm,
know, so
mm,
I've been there, and I've called Long Beach home
mm.
since the early 2000s.
Oh, nice, man. Nice, nice. All right, and then we got another artist I'm gonna bring on. Your person that you work with a lot, Dr. V. How you doing,
How
Dr.
you doing,
V?
sis?
Good. Hey, what's up? How is everybody?
Good, good, good.
I'm excited to
So,
be here.
yeah, welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Now, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So, my name is Nooshin Valizadeh, but I go by Dr. V for on stage, mainly because I teach at different universities, and my students couldn't fully pronounce my last name, so they just started calling me Dr. V, and it's in
Mm,
my persona on stage and in the classrooms and at events. So I teach a lot of like social justice oriented coursework. I've taught at USC, UCLA, and a lot of different universities. And I've been an activist really against violence. So just violence prevention, which includes all forms, domestic, sexual, and police brutality, et cetera, and really trying to, take those preventative measures. We recognize that violence isn't a behavioral thing. It's not that you're either born ready to be violent or not, but that it's rather a
mm,
systemic issue, and that we need to take preventative measures, and especially what the role of police is in those cases, when they the number one complaint against police is excessive force, and the number two is sexual assault.
mm,
So
Wow.
yeah.
yeah, so that's a lot of like my non-artivist work, but I have been able to express my social justice endeavors, and along with like, healing through poetry and really through connecting with other artists who do what I don't do. So I've been able to connect with DJ S.O.U.L, who is also the DJ for the Pan-African Film Festival, to bring him on to make sure that he's, part of some of those events with his incredible craft of like, just, he can share what he does. I brought like visual artists, so who can show like paintings that I have here. A lot of these paintings are by Brandy Junius. They're featured in my poetry book. And then I bring the actual poetry performance and the workshopping of poems, and just kind of trying to inspire really the youth, but anybody, any age, to use art as the form of healing and to promote social awareness. And that's where artivism really comes from, art plus activism.
Okay. And now when you two work together, DJ S.O.U.L, like how does that usually connect?
Well, we've worked together through a third party, which would be the brother Philosophy.
Yes.
So they would bring their poetry ideas to the studio, and between the poetry and the singing, because Dr. V has an amazing songster's voice. She could sing, y'all, if you didn't know.
That's
you know,
okay, all right. Dope.
And they just come to the studio and just work it on out, brainstorm over some instrumentation and catch a good creative vibe, and then build and come out with something amazing like they did the last time around. So.
Yeah, we got to I don't know how Philosophy knows DJ S.O.U.L aside from Pan-African Film Festival, but I was a featured performer there and I got to see him there. And so then he encouraged us to have a DJ at this UCLA event that was focused on sexual trauma, especially specifically to women of color. I'm having more of an intersectional focus on that. And so I was like, how does the DJ work again? He's like, oh, like the Pan-African Film Festival. I was like, yes, can we get that DJ? He's like, we are getting that DJ. And so since then, and now I'm doing a big event for University of Colorado. And I'm like, can I bring a DJ? Doing a Black wellness event this Saturday. I'm like, should we have a DJ? So I saw how I couldn't envision how it works, but seeing him do his thing really creates like a really nice vibe for the community. And yeah, I think there's a lot of more work that we're going to do together, more events. And he's going to help produce my book into an Audible format too, which is dope. So
that's dope. Yeah. Now, what would you say, like, so say you have some like event like yesterday, tragedy like this yesterday, like how does that kind of inform you guys? Like, so going to an event, how does that inform your work? Like if you have people that are struggling, or that have that's affecting them in a way, like how does that inform you when you go and do your work?
I'll return.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dr. V, please.
I can share how I, obviously the event that we're doing on Saturday, we planned ahead. And so, but we have to also, being educators, being artists, we kind of really understand that we have a responsibility to our audience and not say, well, this is what I was planning on doing and that's what it's going to be. So, if it wasn't so soon, I would try and bring on like some poets who are from those backgrounds, and I'm looking to do that in the future, who share the identities of those of Asian American women. However, I don't have that, but I do have incredible poetry that from my own students, and that is out there. That really addresses some issues that have been, that reinforce this erasure. So really, my workshop on Saturday is going to be about artivism, and I'm going to kind of share about what that means, share different examples. So this is going to be an opportunity for me to bring to light the issues that have happened and the trauma and the tragedy that has happened with the killings of these women. Hopefully also be able to encourage others to have solidarity and recognize that in racism and race issues that, the Asian American community, the API community should not be forgotten. And also feature some folks who have spoken about specifically their invisibility versus suddenly becoming highly visible. Even just reading the headlines in the news, there's emphasis on it being a massage parlor, but there really hasn't been a headline that's really showing that these were Asian women from lower socioeconomic backgrounds who were doing what they need to do to survive. So I can only imagine them being like, oh, it's a massage parlor. Automatically you think, oh, so it was sex workers. Oh, so then it doesn't matter what happened to them. This is the dehumanization that we see everyone, go through.
So yeah, it's the kind of where it's created in the media. So when you see it, it's automatically that dehumanization of life.
Yeah. And I think that poetry, hip hop, music has really brought that other story into light. And that's why like hip hop is really originally an activist movement. It was bringing a story that people didn't hear and know about to others. So it really like represented folks who do come from those backgrounds, in a way that they felt heard and listened to, and then it also amplified their stories to folks who were completely remote and have no idea.
Yeah, to piggyback what she said, hip hop in a sense has been the voice of the street, of the youth, and it's a way to project what's going on directly around us. And in terms of what happened, I just reach out to my folks and just make sure everybody, all their peoples is cool, and let them know that we family still. So just check in on your peoples regardless of ethnicity, nationality, what have you, and make sure that they good. This is something traumatic, and it really does affect the mind and the soul. So that's what I do. Pick up the phone. Don't send that text. Pick up the phone and make sure that they safe getting to work. They just safe. Make sure your people's are safe.
I feel that, man. And what with one of the things that you teach, Dr. V, is intersectionality. Like what I always get that. I got it right this time. I got it right. So what is your, how do you go about like teaching that to people that where they might not really be like, what is that? Well, it's like, what's going on with
like, how do I do the non-elitist academic version?
Yeah.
Well, really, and the thing is that, when it's great to have social media and how that stresses the conversations, but I also think that now I've heard so many different versions of what intersectionality means and is. So I'm glad to, share, the academic way of looking at it is that it's about interlocking systems of power and how they impact those who are most marginalized. What that really means is that, we might see a group of folks who are marginalized because of their race or their gender. But really, this is actually grounded in Black feminist work, but it can be applied across the board since and it's been coined by Kimberly Crenshaw, but it has been talked about since Audre Lorde, James Baldwin, etc. It's really about how the systems of power, because folks try and stress that it's about identity, and yes, it is about groups who are part of multiple identities. So, for example, being in this particular case. We have a lot that we know about, the model minority and about, Asians, they're great at math. They do great. They get into all the colleges. Like that's a lot of the what you hear. And so they don't need mental health services. They don't need to be considered in these different areas of, that we're focusing on. But then also we're completely erasing the fact that there's a lot of Asian American women or just, folks who are immigrants who are also from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. So you have, not only are they not white, they're not male, they're perhaps not Christian, and they're definitely not middle class or well off. So now it's not about their identities being the barriers, but rather the systems of supremacy that work together to further marginalize them. So for example, like being a person of color is not the barrier, right? Anti-Blackness and racism is the issue. So again, looking at this from the positions of power and how the forces of power are actually hurting and erasing their reality and amplifying their issues. Given that they have multiple different identities that that encompass them, is critical in understanding what intersectionality theory is and how to apply it. So, in just our work, for example, when you're doing any type of work, the work needs to be intersectional. When you're talking about educational inequities and you want to focus on Black students and Latinx students of color, you have to also see what about of those students, the ones who are also poor, and of those students, the ones who also have disabilities, because then you're going to see that in every area of oppression, they're the ones that are going to be the most vulnerable. You can look at it, any issue that you're passionate about. So I always push that, pick one or two like social justice, passions that you're into and do the work, but be intersectional with it.
That's dope. And then DJ So now when you spinning when you spinning it, like, do you be like intersectionality
No, but I think for me as a DJ, you do have to be kind of empathetic in your musical selection, because you do want to press some buttons, but you want to convey whatever feeling of soul, you just want to pull that good feeling out of people. So, I'll be able to look at people in the crowd and I'll be like, okay, they might just like this, and I'll drop it, and then I'll go to the other one and I will cut in some in a section, stuff like that, and get the party jumping like that. But it's all about reading the room. But I try to be really empathetic, and it's really a feeling of everybody else that's out there. And for me as a DJ.
Yeah, that's dope, man. Like, I've never heard it broken down like that, where it's like, I try to be empathetic as a DJ. I've never heard that before. What
I can't say it any other way, because I see the people, and some, depending on the DJs of where the setting is, I might see somebody at the bar, they on a date, so I'm setting the mood for them. And then I might see somebody else, they having a little family get together, so I gotta throw on the cha-cha slide song for them. Somebody else, they just ain't feeling nobody, so they want to hear some gangster stuff, and I might drop a tune or two for them. You really do have to be kind of empathetic of what people's feelings in the room, or at least that's how I see it in my musical selection.
That's conscious DJ work. That's conscious DJ, and like recognizing, oh wait, am I only playing like male artists who are men? Let me make sure I'm also having like Black female artists in there, whatever. Like, he definitely, and I think as artists we do that. We look at who we're givers a lot of the time. We tap into our craft to give to others, and so then that's part of the work, is like recognize, don't just play what you want, don't just say what you want, don't just write what you want, but actually think of those who might be touched and what they need too. So yeah, I love hearing.
And I get it more times than not. I haven't heard this song in a long time. You knew exactly what I needed to hear. For what you know about that, it's always somebody that has to come up to me and be like, what you know about that? What you know about that? I'm like,
right. Right. Yep. Yep. Now, one thing I always talked about with mental health is, like, I always felt like music was the mood stabilizer before you even knew what the term was. So like, you see the kids with the headphones, like a lot of that is mood stabilizer. Now with that, what did you come up with challenges as far as mental health growing up, DJ S.O.U.L?
You said it. Music was the mood stabilizer for me, and it's also a tongue twister. And I was that kid. I went to 14 different schools growing up, so I was always the new kid on the block, always. And I just found my outlet through making mixtapes, and my older brother was a DJ, So we didn't grow up together though. So we'd meet during summer vacation and we just swap music, and he put me up on all his mixtapes. He's a college radio DJ. So he had a show. So he kicked me down with a gang of his recorded sessions and jazz tapes and roots reggae and rare grooves. And I just spend my days in class at school, walking the hallways, just ingesting that. And people be like, you always walking around like you bop when you walk, like you listening to something, even when I'm not. You know, that's just what it was. And in terms of mental health and sanity, just dealing with the world, you know, being a young Black male in the 90s, and now, you know, there's a lot going on. You know, you just, you're hitting the streets, you catching the bus, you on public transportation, and you just want to drown out the noise. So I do believe it is a stabilizer, or it was for me growing up, and it is now, but not so much as it was in my youth, because I think I needed it a lot more then, you know. So, and it's also a tool for teaching. Yeah, that it made me I believe the music then made me a better person now, you know, in my growth as a man. So those are my 2 cents on it.
Now, what would you say to kids who are growing up with that same experience of going to so many different schools, and it's like that's a, you know, they have to do that year in, year out. Like, do you have like advice that you would share to kids?
Well, I was a child of music. Now, what I do now, I did then. So that is what led me to doing this. But for a young child growing up, it's hard to say, because I think they're living in really, truly different times, and social media is here now. So the bullying is so much more prevalent, in a sense that, you know, it's your bully isn't necessarily going to be in front of you. You know, they could be in a whole nother city reacting to something that you thought was beautiful that you posted. You know, you could see some flowers or trees in the skyline posted and think that's your art, and then somebody would jump in there and tear your idea down, or your artistry down. So it's really, really hard to say, because you know, social media is almost like the devil at this point.
Yeah.
You know, but I think just be true to yourself, and everything else will pass. It's all in cycles, and all that nonsense and stuff going on. It passes, and it does make you. It really truly makes you stronger and wiser, and more aware in other situations. You can see those situations coming a mile away. So that's my humble advice. But I do think social media is it's doing more damage than what it is doing good. You know, for the youth.
Yeah. And now, Dr. V, can you kind of chime in on that as far as your experiences with music and hip hop? And I also want to get to the contract, that 1991 contract, like, because you guys are hip hop enthusiasts. Where y'all remember the contract? I always talk about it, but it's where those few white record execs brought in X amount of hip hop artists and was like, kind of pretty much was like, hey, we want y'all to really go in this direction with gangster rap music, and it tied directly into the prison system.
Well, for your first question, yeah, I'm gonna share. I'm happy to share about how really hip hop and poetry kind of in a lot of ways saved my life. You know, I do come from an Eastern culture. I'm Iranian. You know, it's not like wellness and mental health and this kind of thing is a normalized conversation. It wasn't in my family or my culture, and I don't really think it was that prevalent anywhere around me either. Like, oh, you're feeling sad and depressed, we should have you talk to a therapist. It'd be like, that wasn't really something that I was exposed to. So, and I was bullied very badly in school. I was definitely, I had a lot of others happening to me, othering happening to me, being Iranian, being, not Christian, having a brother with severe disabilities, being, different, like completely different ethnicity and color. It's the kids I went to school with, and not being a rich kid. I was amongst a lot of rich kids, and I lived on the border side of the town that everybody made fun of. So, I definitely had a daily basis of being bullied for my culture, who I was, and for having a brother with disabilities. It was just very okay to do that with no support, no teachers, nobody. And what was incredible was that at a very young age, even though this was a predominantly white community, they have a program called METCO. I'm originally from Boston, and the METCO program actually is a volunteer program where Black students from the inner city can actually come to, the public schools that are in higher academic standing. And so while they don't live in your neighborhood, they're like, families wanted them to come and come to that school. And so it was actually, and they all kind of live close to each other. So they actually often know each other and are already friends. And they really welcomed me into, playing with them at recess at a young age. And they would like stand up for me when kids would say something like the R word about my brother. They would like stand up for it. And so I just felt like while we had different experiences, we had similar pains from being oppressed in different ways. And so I was really exposed through them. I mean, I didn't have an American experience that most immigrants have if they're accepted by white groups. So I pretty much was like an Iranian foreigner with like my family only speaking my language, and then trying to be Americanized, but not being accepted by white folks. So my American experience was actually like an African and Caribbean American experience at a young age. So I was exposed to hip hop. I was exposed to, different forms of even just like not being Christian. I went to a Black church a few times, with friends who invited me. Different American food was like the food that my Jamaican friends had. In their houses. So I got really exposed at that age, and I just fell in love. I'm Persian, so poetry is a part of my culture, but it really wasn't, a huge thing that I was learning in school. But having my friends be like, oh, listen to these lyrics. These are great. This is kind of like, all the way up to high school and like Biggie, and Tupac, and listening to Biggie's like suicidal thoughts. And he's like, when I die, fuck it, I'm gonna go to hell, and saying like, I wonder if I died with tears come to her eyes about his mom. Like, I remember feeling like that at times, I'm feeling like, wow, hip hop is actually, is saving me in a way. And it's inspiring me to write. I mean, I wasn't writing rap, but I was using a lot of the rhythmic patterns in my poetry. And when I would do that, I would often do it when I was in a place of pain and loneliness. And I could honestly feel a lot of the feelings just kind of, transfer from my soul, from my heart into my pen and onto the paper. Am I going to say, oh, just write poetry and don't see a therapist? That's not what I'm saying. But when you don't have other outlets, this was a beautiful, holistic way for me to just like release my feelings. And I felt better, and I would notice like if I do that, I feel better and I have a productive outcome. I have something that I think is dope that I would share with like a few friends who would be like, that was cool. Like, good job. That was great. Let me add to this, and collaborate with me on it. So it just became a part of my way of like dealing. And it was highly inspired by hip hop music. And then when Dead Prez came out and they had a song called They Schools, oh my God, that inspired me to pursue education. That song of just being like, having these interactions with teachers who are racist and how these schools don't teach us anything, and that they were very like white centric. I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not the weird one. Like there's folks who actually relate to how I'm feeling, who have been othered, and not, though we don't share the same identity, we share some similar, obstacles and pains. And so I just saw that like, music and the arts is just a way to grow. And I've been able to use that till this day by meeting different artists through survivor networks of sexual assault survivors, through, folks who talk about the immigrant experience and like creating poetry and doing workshops together.
That's dope. Now, go for it.
For me, I was a writer before a DJ or producer, any of that, because I couldn't afford none of this equipment. All I could afford was a pen and a pad. So that was my initial first love, is writing. I wanted to be a journalist. I won writing awards from childhood. I've always been a writer, and everything else just kind of fueled that, even to this day. And like she said, I used it as a method of venting. It was that release, just get this out. Boom, I'm done. I feel so much better now. Plus, it's dope. Not only do I feel better, but it's dope as hell. So, I understand that completely. So that was my therapy as well.
Nice. Now, with the work you guys have coming up, like what's event besides Saturday? Be well, doing anything Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11:30. But besides that, what kind of events and stuff that you guys have coming up?
Well, we just closed on it's a 3-day event I'm doing for the University of Colorado, which is umbrella over a lot of different city colleges, I believe. And that is March 30th, March 31st, and April 1st. And they asked me to do a 3-day workshop. And I said, okay, my first day, I'll just facilitate a workshop, introduce everyone. Hopefully it's going to be a great student show rate from the different colleges, but also it's going to be open to everybody. And I can facilitate a workshop similar to what I'm going to do on Saturday, but a little more higher ed focused, and, teach about like rhythm, teach about, different forms of poetry, and just kind of inspire students to write and to have a little moment to do that. So get a little bit of the education, then do the application, and then do the sharing. And then on the second day, I'm bringing my visual artist friend who's done a lot of my paintings for my book to kind of do a similar effort, but also incorporate the visual artistry in there. So if anybody wants to actually, during the workshop, if they want to continue with writing their poetry or perfecting their poetry, great. But if they want to actually explore the drawing and the art and the techniques, then they can also do that, and then have a discussion for that. And then the goal is that on April 1st, a lot of those students will have, and I've offered to workshop some of their work and like review it, give them some feedback, have their peers give feedback. And so then on the final day, we're going to have a celebration. We're going to have students who feel like they're ready to share, to go ahead and share. We have some featured artists. So I have, I'm part of a poetry crew called Never Speak. So I have a few members from Never Speak, including Philosophy, Shy But Fly, and our new member, Ravina. We're going to come and share some of their pieces, and then we'll have DJ Solo spinning. He'll, help open, do some mixes in between the sets, which is really cool to do. When there's a little break, give everyone a break. And then, and I'm also bringing a wellness, a woman Marissa Thompson, she's part of Luminous Minds, and she does this incredible Black wellness initiative. So she'll like open the space up, and some of the poetry that folks here might be triggering, we want to be considerate. We don't want like poetry to be a trauma dump area. We want it to talk about things, and that we're also knowing how to come out of that. Because at the end of the day, Zoom ends and you're home, maybe by yourself, or not home at all. So we're going to have her open the space and close the space with some mindful energy healing. And it's going to be fantastic. And I want, folks to, really come to all 3 of those events. But also, if all you do is come to the final event to just hear from these incredible students and from some of the featured artists, and just have a time to celebrate.
That's dope. Now, a trauma dump, like I feel like that's a very important thing to key in on, because I think that's what, with stand-up open mics, is like a lot of that can turn into trauma dumps. Poetry as well. So it's like, what do you go into a workshop and you kind of have that when you're creating your workshop? do you kind of have that in mind, like how to transition people out of those mental spaces?
I don't personally, have that, because I think that, writing is yours, and that what you do with that space is yours. And I think in those workshops, it's not necessarily meant for you to go become a performer. And a lot of times folks are just for the first time becoming inspired to write at all. So they may not even be there yet. And so there's writing you do for yourself, and there's writing that you share. And I do always do trigger warnings. I always say, like, there's gonna be trigger warnings, and then I try and give them as well for my own things. So if I'm like, going to share on sexual trauma or on a miscarriage, then I do say trigger warning. This poem does have that. It's just to give an opportunity for folks who are like there, who don't necessarily like at every point in time want to hear that right now, or not in the space to hear that, can actually have a second to, tune out or leave. And I think that's the respectful thing to do. But no, I mean, and I think for the celebratory, like, sharing, that's why on that third day I'm going to have the wellness energy healer there. And of course, the triggers that, we're talking about police brutality. We might be talking about suicide. We might be talking about depression. So if you're not in the right headspace, or you don't have an after plan, then a self-care plan after, then maybe, step away for this. But we do also try to make sure we have like resources and 24-hour, hotlines, as we do with Black Wellness Collab, like, so that folks know, that help is out there, that they don't necessarily have to pay for, in case anything, comes up. But a lot of curating those events does come with, does get like worked out when you have someone like a DJ and having the energy healers and having it kind of close in a way that is properly facilitated, and not so like, okay, we're all just going to share our poems and surprise, and then like, thanks for coming, gotta go.
Yeah.
We've got to be conscious in everything we do, and for audience.
Now, DJ, so like, do you have time, like, since your first love was writing, do you have time to share what you like, share your writing still, or is it more just DJing now?
It is more DJing and producing now, to the point where I'm lucky to pen a verse. But I'm still at it. I actually just was featured on a song about a week ago. Well, I felt obligated to be on the track because, they're speaking about being God. And, I consider myself, God. If you're going to have a track about, I am God, then I felt inclined to be on it. So I felt inclined to drop a verse on that. But I generally don't put myself out there as much anymore unless I really want to get something off my chest. I write nowadays. I think I really truly write to vent, and I really want to say something to mean something. But I do have a website where my entire catalog of mixes, instrumentals, and albums is on that medium. Shameless plug. I'm sorry. Hey, that's good. He has it right there on the screen. Beats, Rhymes, Soul Production.
Yeah, man. I got you, dog. I got you, man.
Perfect time. And so check me out there. And I actually just uploaded a remix, because I'll sneak in remixes and reworks for just on the sly. So I did that about an hour ago. And so you can jump on there, go to the single section, and in the song that pops up, I did a remix too. So you can download that for free.
Okay. That's dope, man. That's dope. Now, would you be like, do you have any kind of a desire to be like, yo, I'm gonna Dr. V, next time we go, I'm gonna say some things and drop some words. She's like, you know what, you should do that.
Yeah.
You like, dog, man.
He's like,
me?
Yeah.
Oh, you talking to me? Oh yeah, I'm always down to spit. Oh yeah. I'm always down. Yeah. Just give me a second to collect my thoughts and I'd spit something. Yeah. So next time. Absolutely.
Well, Saturday there will be a sharing time. If you want to share something.
And there we have it.
Oh, I would love that.
That'd be dope. Yeah. Hey, okay. Well, man, I'm so happy to have y'all on the show, on Fight the Funk podcast. And now, where, like, online, on what's your like go to preferred, like, what 10 platforms? What's your preferred platform that you like? All right, go to this. You can. This is what I'll mess with right here.
To find us or to
Yeah. To find you guys.
Okay. For mine, so if you want to like book anything, keep up with my book, anything, you can go to my website, which is drnooshv.com. So especially if you want me to do like a speaking event or perform, that's a good way to reach out to me. It's just a lot more organized than trying to do it through Instagram. Just go on my site, and there's a contact space, and you can just drop me a message and say, hey, like, can you, facilitate something? Can you put a performance together? And then my actual Instagram handle is just at drnoosh_v. And, I post my updates of things that are happening. I need to get to, I'm at like 8,000 something followers. I need to get to 10,000 so I can actually have the swipe up. So like for this podcast, I'm like, I'm on a podcast, and I'm like, can't put the link on. So follow me, tell your friends, so that I can just do the easy swipe ups there. But yeah, that's a good way to, you'll see some content about work that I'm doing that is social justice oriented, artivist oriented. And also I try and keep up with some different like updates of what's going on when I can.
Okay. So and then and Mr. S.O.U.L, and this is your main contact,
Yeah,
right?
that's my main platform, where there is a formal contact link on the main page, so you can just drop a message there. If it's quicker to find me on Instagram, that would be SoloVerse, SOULO VERSE. Instagram, that's my plug there, but my hub is beatsrhymesoulproduction.com.
Dope, man. Dope. Man, well, thank you. I'm excited to see y'all this Saturday. On the Be
Family,
Well.
brother.
Yeah.
What would you like to hear Saturday? What do you think people want to hear, like in terms of song requests, or like types of poetry? Addressing what? Like, what would you like? And you're speaking for your whole audience right now.
Well, I mean, I just feel like it's a mix, because it's always a combination of both, right? It's like on one end, you want to take care of the people who aren't doing well, or who are either or who just lost a loved one, who needs like guidance. So you want to take care of people on that end, and then you also have the other end where it's like people ready to wild out and go out and have fun and live life. So it's like, so you always have those two. Those two going on. So it's like trying to have that balance of having something that can uplift people that are in a down place, and then have something where it's like people like, yo, let's hear something. It's kind of like, it's a DJing, where it's like you feel it, you feel the room, where it's like, all right,
you definitely got to feel the room.
Yeah, you gotta feel it. So I'll say we'll balance it out. Like you'll bring the poetry that speaks to you, some uplifting poetry, and DJ S.O.U.L have some balance to it, and then I'm
gonna keep it completely positive, man. There ain't gonna be no down vibes there. Everybody's gonna be feeling
good. Yeah. And I feel like that way is people that are having a hard time with right now, as well as the people that are ready to have a ball. It's like, we positive, it can reach everybody. So yeah. So I'm excited to have y'all, excited for Saturday. It's gonna be lit. So thank you. I will see
thank you,
y'all.
brother.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. And I will sign you guys off, and then close this out. But stay on. I'm gonna check in with y'all.
Yeah, thanks. We'll see everyone Saturday. I hope people have signed up and registered. It's not too late. So
dope. All right. And thank you guys for checking out Fight the Funk podcast. This has been another edition of pick edition of Fight the Funk podcast, hosted by Magic Man. Thank you for joining us, and check out our event, Be Well, Healing Through Creativity webinar, Saturday, March 20th, 2021 at 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. It's going to be a positive vibe, and it's going to be lit. Let's get it. Deuces.